As the song goes, the boys are back in town because Amazon Prime Video's hit comic book series is set to return this September. With the release of a new teaser, we got to wondering about some of the heroes, specifically Homelander, and what makes him tick. The Boys is a clever series that plays off of established superhero trappings, so we'll see just what Homelander is operating with and how he compares to a certain Man of Steel. It's no accident that Homelander shares a lot of similarities with Superman. That's because the world that the boys inhabit is based largely off of the DC universe. Instead of the Justice League, the people of the world are more familiar with the Seven, with Homelander as the leader of the team. He's America's darling. At first glance and on paper, he's the Boy Scout. Chiseled jaw, friendly demeanor, and his signature line where he tells law enforcement and civilians that they are, in fact, the real heroes. Sounds like a stand-up dude. And just like Superman, Homelander is considered to be a god amongst men. Only Homelander has some issues, which is the whole point of The Boys. They say that you should never meet your idols, and the show is a sneak peek behind the veil at what society might actually look like if we had superheroes. Controlled by corporations and public opinion, these heroes are curated and manipulated in order to appear a certain way. So, Homelander's all-American personality is just a facade. In reality, Homelander is more in line with our biggest fears if Superman were to go off the edge a little bit. Homelander and Superman may have different origins, but their powers ended up being almost identical. Where Kal-El crash-landed on Earth from the planet Krypton, Homelander, whose real name is John, was actually created and raised in a lab. His all-American and deity personas were the product of heavy brainwashing, where he would be subjected to images of the American flag, Jesus, and yes, baseball. This was because John was known for being quite angry as a youth thanks to not having a mother. This anger would often turn to violence and hate, so John was engineered from the ground up to become something more than what he was. When it was written as a graphic novel and subsequently adopted for Prime Video, The Boys has always intentionally been a satire on the superhero genre. Each member of the Seven is a riff on a familiar hero, so it should come as no surprise that Homelander is sort of the anti-Superman.
I gotta tell you, it was perfect.
Just like the Man of Steel, Homelander has superhuman strength. He can throw a baseball all the way from New York City to Boston, throw a bank robber a few blocks away, and generally perform unbelievable feats of strength. Homelander is known to be the strongest of all the heroes, but that doesn't mean that he's the best. Homelander is something of the antagonist of the series. Do you remember Superman Returns? Well, chances are probably not, but the best part of that movie was when Superman saved the passenger jet and all the people on it. Something similar happens in The Boys, but it's the worst case scenario here. When Homelander and his fellow member of the Seven, Queen Maeve, attempt to save an airplane that's been taken over by hijackers, things go horribly wrong. Sure, the duo stop the hijackers in the passenger part of the plane, but fail to stop one in the cockpit. As such, the pilot doesn't make it. Maeve, who is a Wonder Woman archetype, asks Homelander to save the day by lifting the plane above his head, much like how Superman did in Returns. Only Homelander doesn't. He gives a variety of reasons as to why he cannot, from having no ground to kick off to support the plane, and that he couldn't possibly lift up a plane while flying. While all of this very well may be true, I also got the impression that Homelander just didn't care about saving all those people and knew that their deaths would serve a corporate agenda. I think this because Homelander didn't even try to catch the plane. He sort of just shrugged it off, said, "Oh well, we tried," and abandoned the passengers to their fates. That's not the only time Homelander's strength has caused heartache. When he was in the lab, he actually found a mother figure in the form of one of the doctors on site. He accidentally broke her spine when giving her a hug, which ended her life. No wonder Homelander has issues. But the incident with the passenger plane wasn't the only messed up incident Homelander had with aviation. Early on in Season 1, the mayor of Baltimore informs Madeline Stillwell, the senior VP of Vought International's Hero Division, that he knows about Compound V. This is a secretive substance that is actually the cause for the creation of the hundreds of superheroes around the world. But society believes that superheroes are a natural thing, not a chemical one. So the scandal would be astronomically huge. Upon playing this card, the mayor doesn't realize that Homelander is listening in thanks to his superhuman hearing. Homelander's hearing allows him to hear things clearly through walls, hear heartbeats, and pick up specific noises for miles on end. Without authorization from Vought, he goes off book and follows the mayor to his plane. From there, Homelander uses his signature heat vision to cut down the mayor's plane, which crashes into the Hudson. The mayor and his son were on board. Homelander has used his heat vision for other nefarious and evil reasons though. He's often used them on people, which has resulted in bloody messes. Publicly, he uses the heat vision to melt a bank robber's weapon to their hand, which isn't so bad all things considered, but behind the scenes, he's melted people, bones and all.
All clear, boys. Mission accomplished.
Homelander is the nightmare version of Superman. Of course, one aspect of Homelander's powers is that he's basically invulnerable, so if the people ever decided to rise up against him, they would be powerless to do so. Bullets do absolutely nothing to him, and even explosions have no effect. Not only that, but Madeline's still well implied in the show that there isn't a weapon on Earth that can harm Homelander, which strongly implies that a nuke won't harm him. What's worse for humanity though is that there is no such thing as Kryptonite in this universe, meaning Butcher and the rest of the boys will have to find other methods if they hope to ever take out Homelander. They got creative with translucent, but that trick won't work this time. Also, that was gross, just for the record. Butcher and the rest of the boys might have a hard time simply catching Homelander though, never mind trying to overpower him. That's because the leader of the Seven has some pretty helpful powers to help him get around. Homelander has a blue suit and a dominant red cape, so you better believe that boy can fly. At one point in the show, he jokes how the team at Vought thought it would be a good idea to give him a red cape as opposed to the stars and stripes he wears instead. That would have been a bit too on the nose to see Homelander flying with a red streak behind him. When Homelander is flying over the city in search of translucent, Frenchie's camera clocks him flying at Mach 1.53 or 1,872 kilometers per hour. So maybe he wasn't even going full speed when he was searching for his pal, because when it came time to catch up with the hijacked plane, he got there pretty quickly. The show makes a point of telling us that F-16s are already en route to the plane before Homelander and Maeve set out in pursuit. For the record, the top speed of an F-16 is just shy of Mach 2, so it's safe to assume that Homelander was able to put the pedal to the metal and surpass this speed. Maeve and Homelander were on that plane for a few minutes before abandoning it, and the jets had yet to arrive. However, even at a speed surpassing Mach 2, this actually might make him a little slower than the Flash, who at least in the CW show comes in at Mach 3.3. Likewise, over the years, Superman has known to be excessive in his need for speed. In the comics, he's been shown flying at 52 times the speed of light, or trillions of miles per second, moving so quickly, he's gone back in time and flown into literal infinity. So yeah, Superman wins this race, which is probably for the best. Can you imagine what Homelander might do if he started messing with time? Regardless though, Homelander's ability to fly and fly at ridiculously quick speeds still make him a threat.
I got excited, I'm sorry.
All that speed would be pretty useless though if Homelander couldn't maintain it, but thankfully, he also has superhuman stamina as one of his powers. It would be pretty embarrassing to fly a few blocks and to suddenly be tired, but Homelander doesn't have that problem. He doesn't feel tired or weak, even after traveling at speeds of around Mach 2. He simply lands and does his job more or less and goes about his business without breaking a sweat. Photographers must love him. I've already mentioned that Homelander has the best hearing around, but he has another power based on his senses that Superman is familiar with. When he's not melting people's faces off with his heat vision, Homelander is able to see through walls thanks to his X-ray vision. He can see through solid objects and, unlike actual X-rays, sees more than just walking skeletons. He can see every detail he wants on the other side of walls, and coupled with his advanced hearing, he would make quite the spy. Something he does, as he watched Stillwell outside of her office. Yeah, that's creepy. But there's a catch when it comes to Homelander's powers. He can't see through things made of zinc. This is told to us when the Deep, a riff on Aquaman, finds the remains of Translucent. Butcher, who knows a thing or two about his enemy, puts all the bits of the former superhero into a suitcase made of zinc, knowing that Homelander wouldn't be able to see through it. Of course, the Deep was able to find it, which was sort of the point, but by the time the case had been discovered, Billy and the boys are in the clear. So Homelander is a scary dude, but the finale of season 1 of The Boys makes us wonder what will happen to the all-American leader of the Seven. Billy Butcher spends the entire season seeking revenge on Homelander for the death of his wife Becca, only to learn that she's alive and has a son with Homelander. The child is a complete surprise to Homelander, as Vought kept the pair of them hidden from him. He reveals this information to the kid though, and we have to wonder if this will begin to change his demeanor going forward. Homelander is no longer under the control of Madeline Stillwell and her lies, and basically doesn't have to answer to anybody. He also has some issues to work out with Billy, who no doubt has some questions for his wife. But we're certain we'll get some of these questions answered later this year because The Boys Season 2 will be hitting Prime Video this September. This show will see the boys on the run after the attack on Vought in the last season, and Billy being completely MIA. Billy's story will be explored in a short film that will hit before Season 2 arrives, but don't worry, Billy will be back in the show. There will also be a new hero in the form of Stormlight, a character who Aya Cash says will be on par or worse than Homelander. So it'll be interesting to see a lot of Homelander's actions potentially reflected back on him in the form of this hero, which may cause some moral confusion. Oh, and Giancarlo Esposito will be in Season 2, so there's that too to get hyped about.
Daddy's home.
So there you have it. Homelander might have a lot of similarities with Superman on paper, but once you see just how the leader of the Seven uses his powers, we see that the two characters could not be any more different. Homelander has a public image that he basks in, but behind the scenes, he's more of a tyrant willing to do anything. If a godlike superhero were to use their powers unchecked, it would be our worst nightmare, and having such a being under the control of a mega corporation is honestly quite terrifying. But what are your thoughts on Homelander? Do you think that he'll ever see the error of his ways and change? Or has he lived long enough to see himself become the villain? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in your playlist every day. Thanks for watching.